Hello, thank you so much for joining us online today. Jesus wants to do so much for you and through you, and we'd love to hear your story. Please take a second to send it to us at stories@rise-church.com. We hope this message leaves you feeling uplifted and encouraged. Enjoy.
My name's Adam. I have the great honor of being the lead pastor at this church, and it is an absolute honor to have you here visiting with us today. We hope you love it. Can you give yourselves a hand? We are kicking off a brand new series today, week 1 of a series we're calling Legacy. You already have perfect attendance. Way to go. Come on. I always love to ask people that had perfect attendance in school to raise their hands because we like to laugh at you because you were nerds and you didn't skip school. I skipped the most amount of days I could in high school and still rocked a 3.9 GPA. Come on, somebody. They should give out an award for that. Amen, amen. And so we're glad that you're here. We're kicking off this brand new series. So excited about it. We're calling it Legacy. It's a 4-week series. And the whole idea is this, that we want to learn to live a life beyond ourselves, to live a life beyond yourself. When you pass from this earth and you are no longer here, what kind of legacy are you going to leave to people that you were around? And I believe that if our lives can get a little bit intentional and passionate about the things of Jesus, that we will leave a great legacy, not just to our next generation, our children, but to our children's children and to everybody that we come in contact with. I love this word legacy. I love the heart behind this series because if I could just be open and honest, this is a vision series. This is a clarity series because this is what I know. We had over 900 people in the house last week at our 4-year anniversary. It was kind of a big deal. We're 4 now, going into our 5th year. But this is what I know. Some of you are brand new to our church. Like you still are kind of checking things out. We got our first time guest today that you're still kind of figuring out who we are. And then others of you, you've been coming here for maybe a couple weeks and you're kind of trying to figure out, is this the church that I really want to call home? Is this a place that I want to get plugged into? And this is just what I would encourage you to be here for all 4 weeks of this series. To come every week for this series, because at the end of the 4-week series that we do here of Legacy, you're going to know this is either the church that you want to dig into or this is a church that you want nothing to do with. And we're okay with either. If you come here and you think, man, this isn't, that's okay. There are 100 other great churches in our city, but if you think that this is where God's calling you, man, we want you to dig in and call this place home, and we believe that this next 4 weeks of this series is going to be incredible. I'm going to give you a little inside view, an inside look about who we are as a church. And I sketched this up this week and we're rolling it out. So this is like really brand new, hot off the press right here. That last week you saw, if you were here at our 4-year anniversary, we rolled out a new mission statement. For the first 4 years of our church, we had a mission statement that we'll do whatever it takes to reach people. And it was great, but God put something different on our heart and he's shifting some things in my heart and in our church's lives. And from now on, everything that we do is all about leading people to love God with all their heart. So if somebody ever asks you, hey, what's Rise Church all about? Man, we're all about leading people to love God with all their heart. I don't care if you've been a Christian for 30 years. We want you to love God with all your heart. I talked to a lady the other day. I believe she's in her 70s. And she said, I just wish I was stronger in my faith because it never stops. It never stops. We want to always be leading people. I want to always be leading myself and loving God with all of my heart. And if somebody ever asks you, well, what's your church all about? Like, what's it built on? Right here at the very bottom, this is the foundation of our church. It is Jesus. Make no mistake about it. If we try to build our church on anything other than Jesus, it will crumble. If you try to build your life on anything other than Jesus, it will fall apart. Your marriage, your friendships, anything, it'll fall apart. Jesus is the rock that doesn't move. When you're cracking and you're falling apart, he doesn't. He stays strong. And so you got to learn to lean on him. And what we're going to do with these pillars that you see in the house is over the next couple weeks, we're going to be adding new pillars to this. But 2 of the pillars that I believe are foundational to keeping the house up are what we call Sundays and kids. Sundays and kids. And let me just explain it like this, and then we'll jump into the main part of the message. But if you are still curious about what our church is all about, this is it right here. We believe that we have to make Sundays work. We believe that we have to put all of our effort and energy into making Sundays incredible. We call it a worship experience because we want you to experience God. That when you came in this place, maybe you were a little discouraged, but we're going to send you out of this place encouraged and full of hope. Your situation didn't change while you were in here, but your heart did. Your perspective did. And so now you're going out of this place a little bit more stronger in your faith, ready to tackle the week. And this is what we know. We have to make this awesome. If you don't like this, you're not coming back. You've been to that church, you went, I don't know. You never went back. You've been to that restaurant, I don't know. You never went back. We want to make this awesome. And I don't know what you grew up in, and maybe you're a little more old school, similar to me. This is what I grew up in, that we didn't just have church, we had Sunday school that happened before church. Raise your hand if that's your background. And I don't know what your Sunday school teachers were like, but I had some pretty good teachers, and then on occasion, I would have a teacher that thought he was a preacher. Testify. And that teacher took it upon himself to take that 45 minutes to an hour that he had with 11th grade, 12th grade boys or whatever, and preach for a whole hour. And I had to sit and listen to him. Meanwhile, I'm crying on the inside because I know that the preacher's now going to go and preach for another hour, and I'm not going to remember anything that anybody said in that day. And then I got to be on staff at churches, and even in the churches that I grew up in, and I started to see that there was a disconnect because all the people would attend Sunday school. And if you had a teacher like mine, he would sometimes go over the allotted time to where you were walking into church a little bit late. Meanwhile, first-time guests are showing up to your church, but all your people are in Sunday school. And you would never say this, but with your actions, you're saying, we didn't think you were coming today. Or we knew you were coming, but we didn't care, so we stayed over here. And if you come from a Sunday school background, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying for us, we decided that that wasn't what we were going to do. That all of our energy, all of our time, all of our effort, all of our resources were going to go into Sunday morning. That's why on any given Sunday, we have over 150 Dream Team volunteer people that are serving in our church. Because we know you're coming. First time guest. I have no clue who you are, but I knew you were coming. But I don't know what you're walking in our doors with. I don't know what baggage you're carrying. I don't know what hurt you have. I just know you're coming. So we're ready for you because we want to make you feel welcomed in this place. We want you to actually feel like we're excited that you're here because this is what I know. Some of you walked in here today and your marriage is falling apart because you're ready to give up, or she's ready to give up, or he's ready to give up, and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do. Some of you maybe even came through our doors today and you're ready to give up on life because you're just in a really bad place. Some of you came here today and you've experienced a loss of a loved one recently and you're hurting on the inside, just looking for a little bit of hope. Somebody else came through today that's struggling with an addiction. You cannot get past it. You feel stuck and you cannot move on. But you're here because God brought you here, because somebody invited you. And I believe with all of my heart that God's going to work in your life and do something in you. And we as a church are ready and willing to do whatever we can to point you to Jesus. So we're not going to get distracted with anything else. We're staying laser focused. Matter of fact, there's only one group that I let do Sunday school here, and I let them do it because I like them more than any of y'all. And if you want to be a part of that group, you're welcome to it. They're awesome. Sundays have to be incredible. We have to put all of our energy into this because if we don't make it awesome, you're not coming back. And then we can't do everything else that we want to do as a church. As important as Sundays in here, kids has to be awesome. Has to be. Because I don't care how much you love it. If your kid walks out of that building over there and they say, Mom and Dad, I never want to come back here. Guess where you're never coming back? To Rise Church. You're going to see a couple pictures up on the screen of our Rise kids. They're incredible. It's awesome. Let me tell you something right now. You're going to ooh and ah. I'll think it's about me, but I know it's about the kids back there behind me. Can I confess this right here? Do not ever let me hear you call it nursery. I will throat punch you if you call it nursery. It's in the policy of our church. Because it's not nursery. It's Rise Kids Church. Amen? We're not babysitting your kids back there. We are loving on them. We are pouring Jesus into them. We are praying over them because we don't think they're the church of tomorrow. They are the church of right now. I got 2 beautiful ones back there right now. A third coming in November. Trying to help grow this church personally. You're welcome. Some of y'all need to cut it out. We had 199 kids in Rise Kids last week. You need to thank a Rise Kids Dream Team volunteer when you see them today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. They're incredible. We put some of our best people back there because we value that. Because here's what I know. You could hate this. You could hate everything about, I hated the music, I didn't like that preacher, he wasn't that good, and your kid runs out of that building and they scream, I want to come back next week. Guess where you're coming back? You're coming back here. Got you, sucker. You know, we win the kid and we get you, and then we'll win you over slowly. It'll take a little time, but you'll learn to love us. It's got to be awesome. It's got to be awesome in there. And what I call that is kind of the bones of our church. If Sundays don't work and kids don't work, then the house will collapse. And I know what you're thinking. Well, isn't Jesus going to keep it up? Yeah, he'll keep it up. But if they stink, you're not coming back. And then every week, we're going to add an inside pillar. And you're going to kind of get to see what the guts and the life of our church are really all about. And today, what I want to share with you is this, that groups are one of the most important things we do at Rise Church. One of the most important things we do at our church. And I know if you're thinking right now, you're like, man, I don't want to get in a group. If you're a man in here, you're intimidated, right? Come on, man. Because you think that you're going to show up to that group and everybody just sits around the circle and just confesses their sin. All right, everybody just tell what you jacked up yourself this week on. What did you do wrong, everybody? We don't do that. That's weird. There's a time for that. You may build a relationship with somebody in the group that you learn to trust, and then when you are struggling with something, you might open up to them, but you don't do it in a group setting. And then others of you men, and I'm calling out the men because I just know how y'all think. I'm not sure how women think. But maybe you walk in and you go, I don't want to go to a group because I don't know the Bible like all these other guys know it. We got some dumb men in our church, okay? They're not all Bible scholars. But we come and we grow together, right? You don't have to be intimidated by this. They're easy. They're easy. And the most important thing is we want you to come in here and we want you to get connected. Because if you're not connected, we're never going to know what's going on in your life. So some of y'all, let's be real. You've been coming to our church for a while. You're not connected in any way. And you're hurting on the inside, but we don't even know about it. We don't even know how to encourage you. We don't even know how to pray for you. Listen, you're coming here and that's great, but it's not about, we had over 900 people on campus. That number does nothing for me. We won't celebrate that. I want 900 people connected in a group. Because if 900 people are connected in a group, they're building relationships with each other, and then they're encouraging each other, and they're growing in their relationship with Jesus, learning to love God with all their heart. Amen. That's what it's all about. You got to get connected. If you come in here and you don't ever get connected, you just show up and sit in the back and don't let anybody know who you are, all hell could break loose in your life, and we'll never know about it. We have had some tragic stuff happen in our church in a short 4-year history. And can I share with you something awesome and incredible? A lot of that stuff that's happened, I haven't even had to be the main one to be the minister to the people. Because it's been the people that are already surrounded those other people in groups that are loving on them and encouraging them. I didn't share this. This verse won't be on the scriptures, but underline Ephesians 4:12 in your Bibles. Everybody wants the pastor to do like everything in the church, make all the hospital visits, do all the funerals, do everything. Listen, my job, the Bible tells me, is to do none of that. Like literally, I'm not supposed to do any of that. Ephesians 4:12. It's to equip you to do it. So if God is telling me, hey, Adam, in the end, when you pastor this church, I'm going to evaluate on, did you let your people do the ministry? Don't take it from them. If I take it from you, I'm not empowering you to do it yourself. So next time you want me to come see you, I may be able to. I still make hospital visits. I still do stuff. I'm not that lazy pastor. But I'm going to say, hey, you know what would really benefit you? For your group that knows you tremendously, to go hang out with you. We got over 800, 900 people at our church. I can't hang out with all of you. I'd love to, but then my Sunday sermon would be terrible and then you wouldn't come back. Get connected in a group with people that can do life with you. I want to read you a story that Jesus told out of Mark chapter 2. I want to illustrate 2 points from it. If you got a Bible, say, I got a Bible. If you're reading the words on the screen, say, I'll look up there. Come on. Mark chapter 2, starting in verse 1. A few days later, when Jesus again entered Capernaum, the people heard that he had come home. Another translation says this, that it was heard that Jesus was in the house. I like that. Come on, is Jesus in the house this morning? Amen? Amen. They gathered in such large numbers that there was no room left, kind of like in here. That's why we're gearing up for a third service coming up in the fall sometime. Not even outside the door, and he preached the word to them. Some men came bringing to him a paralyzed man, carried by 4 of them. Since they could not get him to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof above Jesus by digging through it and then lowered the mat the man was lying on. Listen, I've preached this message before, and in this, I've said, I don't know which of the 4 friends had the crazy idea to come up and said, hey, we can't get in the house. What if we actually put him on the roof and dug a hole? You got to have a crazy friend in your life. And if you're trying to think about your friends in your life and you're thinking, who's the crazy one? Odds are you're the crazy one. But that's okay. You got to have one. Somebody's got to be crazy. So they dug a hole through the roof and they lowered this man down. And when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralyzed man, son, your sins are forgiven. And that's another sermon for another time. We don't have time to get into that today. But this is what I want to share with you. 2 points. If you're taking notes, write this down. If you're not taking notes, write this down. First thing is this, that in seasons of life you're going to go through, in some seasons, you are going to be in need of being carried on a mat to Jesus. This is what I mean by that. If you've lived long enough, odds are you have gone through a season where you just feel beat down, where you feel tired. And if we took a poll this morning and I asked you to raise your hand, some of y'all would say, that's me. I'm there right now. Barely made it to church this morning. And we go through these seasons in life and we all go through them. So you don't ever have to think, I'm all alone. No, we all walk through this. Sometimes it's because bad choices we make and we experience the consequences of those bad choices. Hey, I know God didn't call me to do this, but I made this mistake. And now because of that, I'm experiencing these consequences. And I know that's all my fault. We've all been there before. Other times, life just happens. It's out of your control. It comes at you, it hits you, and it knocks you down. And in moments like that, it is great to have people in your life that will not let you stay down. People that will look at you and go, I love you too much to leave you right there. I'm going to come, pick you up, and I'm going to carry you to Jesus. But here's the reality. Thank you for the one clap in the corner. I'll take it. Stop it now. It's too late. Listen. Here's the reality. When life does hit, and it'll hit. Can I get an amen? Amen. If you don't have people surrounding you, when you get knocked down, who's going to pick you up? Who's going to come run to your side and say, hey, come on. I know you don't feel like moving right now, but I'm going to carry you. You got to surround yourself with the right people. because we're all going to get tired. We're all going to feel worn out. About a year into our church plant, I hit a wall. I had never preached every Sunday before. I was a student pastor, and as a student pastor, sometimes you just wing it. You're just doing whatever because there's teenagers, and they don't care. They just love you, and they want you to be there and love on them. But as a pastor, as a church planter, trying to get this thing off the ground, every Sunday I'm preaching. We're doing other things. My wife and I were running 90 miles an hour trying to figure this whole church plan up to keep it going. Had a great team with us that helped us, but I hit a wall. And I looked at my elder board, 4 guys that help oversee this church, and I said, guys, I'm tired, and I need some help. And of those 4 guys, I said, would any of y'all like to preach for me on a Sunday morning? Now, we were still small enough as a church that if they got up there and it was a total, just like train wreck, that we would have still been okay. People would have probably came back. But of those 4 guys, 3 of them said yes. The one that didn't say yes to preach, I got him to preach later anyways. 3 of them said yes. And I don't know if this was wisdom on my part or stupidity, but I said, if I'm going to take a break, I'm going to line them up back to back to back weeks. They preached 3 weeks in a row for me. First guy gets up, Fritz Parman, knocks it out of the park, still preaches on the stage to this day. If you don't know who he is, learn to know who he is. He's an incredible guy. Second guy gets up, my brother Philip Peterson, knocks it out of the park, still preaches on this stage to this day. Then the third guy got up. And we have erased all content from that teaching. Listen, he got up and he shared his heart. The train looked like it was going to come off the tracks a couple times, but we showed him a little bit of grace. That's an inside joke, I'm sorry. I hate inside jokes because then, he would say, if I start messing up, everybody clap 3 times and say grace. So everybody try that. 1, 2, 3, grace. Let's try it again. Grace. We did that about 20 times in his sermon. Showed him some, but he shared his heart. He loved me and was willing to get up and do something that was uncomfortable. He doesn't get to preach on this stage anymore, but he gave everything that he had because he loves this church, and he still leads this church in so many different ways. So grateful for guys that surround me and say, Adam, we care about you. And if you're tired, then we'll carry you a little bit of the way. We'll carry the load. You gotta surround yourself with the right people that will come and run to you. Because in some seasons, you're gonna need to be the one that's carried on the mat. But then there's other seasons where you are the one who is able to carry others to Jesus. And I love this because this is how the church functions best. You ready for this? In some seasons, you're hurting and people need to carry you to Jesus. But then there's going to be another season, months, years down the line, where the same person that carried you is now hurting and you get to carry them. That's the church. Some of you got burned in church because you opened up in a moment and you shared some struggles of what's going on in your life. And when you shared that with people you thought you could trust, they ran and told everybody. And then people started to look at you and go, we want nothing to do with that person. And so now you're a little nervous to jump back into something like that. Can I just share with you? That's not the heart of how we do things around here. The way we phrase it around here is that you got to have the right people on your bus, because we're all going in one direction, and it's either to Jesus or it's away from Jesus. And if you got the right people on your bus, they're going to help steer you in the right direction. But if you have the wrong people on your bus, even though you're trying to go to Jesus, they're going to steer you in the wrong direction. And every once in a while, you're going to need to look at somebody on your bus and say, hey, I need you to get off, because my heart is to go after Jesus, and you're just keeping me from that. I love you. I'm grateful for your friendship, but I'm going after him, and you're not coming with me. Sometimes you got to move seats around the bus. Sometimes you can keep them on the bus, but they need to go to the back of the bus so they're not speaking into your ear as much as other people are. You got to have the right people. But you got to surround yourself with people that care about you. Because 1 Peter 5:8 says this, be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. And this is just what I've seen in my own faith and my own Christianity for the past 16 years, that the enemy doesn't typically look for groups of people to attack. Now, every once in a while, that will happen. He will attack an entire family and everything will just, all hell will break loose in that family's life. That's happening in some families' lives in our church right now. But what I typically see is the enemy roaring around, prowling, looking. And the one that he wants to devour is the one that's in isolation. Oh, they don't have anybody. And I could take them out right now and nobody will even know. Nobody will be able to run to their aid because they don't have the right people. And so he will go after you and he will try to take you out. That's why it's so important to surround yourself with people that when the enemy attacks you, he's not just attacking you, he's attacking your whole tribe. And he'll come after you, but you got people that'll carry you. And I don't know, maybe you've been burned in the past and you don't want to open up. Right here on the screen, write this down. This is for you. People that matter don't judge. And people that judge, they don't matter. You got to get those people out of your life. You got to surround yourself with people that encourage you. So in our church, we do it by groups where you can get to know other people. And I want to share with you a quick video that we put together of a guy that came through the doors of our church, got connected in a group, and things started to change. Y'all check this out.
My name is Dan Olson, and this is my story. I was raised as a pastor's son. I got into alcohol and drugs at the age of 12. Things got pretty bad that my major form of recreation was drugs, hallucinogenics, marijuana, all different types of stuff. When my first child was born, we decided that we needed to be in church and to raise our kids the way that we were raised, which was in church. As time went on, I became the Sunday school teacher. That moved on to a deacon. That moved on to being chairman of the board. And that moved on to being a lay preacher. During all that time, I'm still living my whole lifestyle outside. I felt like it was always about me, what I was doing. I did this for quite a while, and it got to be a heavy load, and I really started to feel like I needed to back away. But during all that time of breaking away, we had some things that were difficult in our family. We had an arrest in our family that was very public, very embarrassing, that separated us from the church. When all that started to happen, I started to really wonder about God. It was to the point where, God, I've been doing all these things. You know, I've preached, I've taught, I've been involved, yet you allow this to happen. And I got to the point where it wasn't just hating God, it just to the point where I analyzed there is no God. We started coming to Rise Church. We came on Easter. We pulled in and everybody's waving and directing us in, and everybody's so friendly. We signed up for the men's group every other Wednesday night. Went to it the first time, and in my mind, I told myself, I'm just going to be quiet and I'm going to listen. And something happened. We just got talking, and next thing I know, I'm telling my whole story in depth about, you know, the troubles that my family's been through and my sons have been through. And I'm not one to open up like that because I don't rely on anybody. And then this group of men accepted me so much. They started praying for me. They started praying for my wife. They started praying for my children. And right then, as things still got really bad in my family, miracles started to happen. My son, who had been diagnosed with a lot of mental problems, PTSD type stuff. In one of his hospital stays, shortly after men started praying, we had a psychiatrist, civilian psychiatrist, walk in. He said, "Son, you've been misdiagnosed, and I'm going to change your medication." That was the start of the recovery. And I started to realize that's due to prayer. That stuff didn't happen to people. Godly people started to pray. I would never, ever opened up like I did down there with the men's group. That was Jesus breaking me, and now it's a personal relationship. Is Rise the reason? Did Rise save me? No, but Rise was the vessel that Jesus and the Holy Spirit used to touch my heart. I'm just changed. I'm a new creation. I'm not the same person anymore. I look for ways to further the kingdom. That's my goal now. What can I do to have other people experience what I've had, other people come to know Jesus?
I love it. It's life change. It's surrounding yourself with people that actually care about you. In our church, this is one of the most important things that we do. If we don't get this right, then we'll never know what's going on in your life and never know how to encourage you and never know how to come alongside you and just walk with you. It would break my heart for you to continue to come to our church every Sunday and never get connected in a group. And if you're here and you think, well, my schedule's just crazy and it's an inconvenience to come, listen, we make time for the things that are important. And if you can't do a group, like I get it, like some of you work, like our groups meet on nights and stuff, like I get it. Like get connected in one of our serve teams. At least you'll get connected with some people. You gotta take your next step. Rudyard Kipling was an author and a poet, and if you've ever seen the movie The Jungle Book, the new one that they did, the live action one, there's part of a poem that he did in that, and it's called The Law of the Wolves. And there's one line in it that I just love. It says, "The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack." And what that means is this, that the strength of the pack that you're in has to do with the wolves that are in that pack. And the strength of the wolf has to do with the people that you surround yourself, the pack that you run with. You are only as strong as the people you surround yourself with. So get the right people on your bus. If you call Rise Church home, you know typically we end with a song and we worship together. We're not doing that today. Because the greatest act of worship that you can do right now is to walk out of these doors in just a moment, go to one of the tents that's set up outside and say, "I want to sign up for a group." We have a list of all of them that are going on. We have men's groups, women's groups, co-ed groups. We got student night kicking back off this Wednesday night for all of our teenagers. We have a young adults group, 18 to 35. We have a women's workout group that likes to work out. I don't know. We got a sewing group. We got a group called prime timers that are 55 and older that I get to sit in and eat their lunch every third Thursday of the month. Man, we got a group for everyone. There's a place for everybody here. Don't not take advantage of this. It's important. Don't walk out of here today and not sign up for a group. You can go to one of the tents. You can do it on the app under the Next Steps page. Tells you everything. We got a group on Wednesday night. Oh, I got kids. We got a group on Wednesday night that has childcare. A group for everybody. And it's not just nursery. They're going to love your kids and teach them Jesus. We do a SOAP Bible reading method for our adults. If you don't know what that is, grab one of these things if we have any left. We're going to teach your kids how to read the Bible. Pour into them more Jesus. There is a group for everyone. Get connected today. If you're a first-time guest in our house today, thanks for being here. If you're a second or third-time guest that came back, thank you for coming back. Go to the New Here table. We got a gift for you, first, second, and third time guests. If you're here today and you've never entered into a relationship with Jesus, come see me. Like literally, find me. I would love to tell you about my Savior and how he can change your life. If you don't sign up for a group, we got people in red shirts that will throat punch you on the way out. Get connected today. The enemy will tell you to put it off. Don't listen to him. Get a part of our family and come back for next week of week 2 of Legacy. It's going to be awesome. We love you, Rise Church. Have a great day today.
Thanks so much again for joining us. If you'd like to continue the conversation, please like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram. If our church has had an impact on you and you'd like to support what Jesus is doing here, please visit us at rise-church.com/give and select a giving option that works best for you. Thanks again and have a great week.